Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next level tactics. From offsite and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition. Now, here's your host, Timothy Carter.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast. Today we're going to talk about why site navigation matters for SEO. You know, site navigation seems like something you shouldn't have to think about, but its importance to SEO is often underestimated. You know, your main goal is to present certain information to your customers, so it's easy to get lost in thinking that it doesn't matter how you structure that information. However, your site navigation plays a number of different roles in providing data to the search engine crawlers and ensuring usability, therefore making it a crucial element for development in your SEO strategy. The term site navigation can actually refer to multiple components of a site. First and foremost, it usually refers to the main navigation bar on a given website, often found running across at the top of the screen. It can also refer to the overall sitemap of the domain, including links not found in that header bar. Confusing things even further, site navigation can even refer to how easily a user can travel throughout your site and find information that he or she is looking for. To simplify things, in this particular podcast, we're going to refer to site navigation as the overall structure and navigatability, if that's actually a word, of your website. So to understand the mechanics that dictate why site navigation is important, we first have to understand crawlers. If you've been working in SEO for more than a month, you've probably you're at least fleetingly aware that crawlers are automated indexing units that scour the web for data. Google in particular has several crawlers constantly discovering new information on the internet. So in order to generate the most relevant search results, search engines need to have a vast store of accurate, up-to-date info about the pages on the web. Crawlers ensure that the legitimacy of this data, so that if you stop crawlers from being able to do their job, you run the risk of having your pages left out of this massive database of information. On the other hand, if you can help crawlers do their job, you'll maximize the number of pages they're able to see on your site and will thus, maximize your presence in the search engine results. So to maximize your crawler efficiency, first you need to make sure that your website is free from Flash and JavaScript. These are old style web formats that were once popular due to their flashy appearances, but their structure makes it almost impossible for crawlers to digest. It's definitely better to use more modern crawlable schemes using H8, XHTML, and CSS. Man, that was a mouthful for just a bunch of letters. Building an XML sitemap, though, is a must if you want to have crawlers, read your site in full. There are many free tools that are available that can, help you build an XML sitemap, such as xmlsitemaps.com. But it's better if you put it in the hands of an experienced web developer. Once complete, you can upload your sitemap to Google Webmaster Tools and place the file on your site directly off the root. Having a properly formatted XML sitemap, in addition to maintaining a crawlable site, will ensure your pages are fully indexed. And then we talk about, site depth. The depth of your site is also an important factor for navigation. If you're engaging in a content marketing strategy, depth might seem like a good thing. After all, the deeper your content goes, the more likely it is that you'll be seen as an expert and that you'll, attract a wider audience as a result. However, depth as it applies to websites is actually a bad thing. The depth of a website is related to the complexity of links that lead to a certain point. For example, let's say your website has 50 pages. The home page and 9 other pages are immediately available on the top header. However, in order to access the remaining 40 pages, you need to click into one of those initial 10. Some of those pages actually require a specific clicking order, such as home page, products, tables, wooden tables, in order to be reached. This is considered a deep site. Shallow sites, on the other hand, offer multiple pathways to each page. Instead of mandating a directional flow like what I just mentioned, a shallow site would have many pages pointing to each page in the hierarchy, like products, wooden tables, etc. So shallow sites make it easier for users to find what they're looking for. And as a result, shallow sites get a small boost in domain authority. Restructuring your site to avoid unnecessary depth can give your site more authority and more ranking power as Google indexes your site. Structuring your URLs. The structure of each individual URL on your site is also important for SEO. While most modern SEO strategies steer away from optimizing for specific keywords in the body content of your web pages, including pages with relevant keywords in the URL, is a sound strategy that won't run the risk of being flagged for keyword stuffing. So make sure your pages are specifically described in your URL, such as marketing services instead of just services, to maximize your searchability, especially for small business. As a rule of thumb, the more descriptive and accurate your URL is, the better. Structuring your URLs in a way that caters to search engines is relatively easy, especially if your website is built on a content management system like WordPress. WordPress and other major platforms have special settings that keep your URLs optimized automatically. For example, under settings, permalinks in WordPress, you'll be able to automatically include your post titles as the URL of the post. Otherwise, your URL might come out as a series of random numbers and letters. Another factor is site speed. Site speed is another important factor that affects your rank. While it currently affects a small percentage of all search queries, it is likely that Google will continue to place a heavier emphasis on the quality of speed in the future. The faster a site is able to download, obviously, the faster the user can acquire the information and navigate to other pages on your site. So a slower page, they'll end up bouncing, and that'll affect the ranking of your site as well. So there are many ways, to improve the speed of your site, including, building your site in an acceptable modern format, as we talked about earlier, reducing the size of your images, your host provider, and adjust your caching settings. The bottom line for your site navigation is this: your users need to be able to easily and quickly find whatever it is they're looking for on your site. Optimizing your site for this angle will help you improve your search engine rankings, because Google's primary objective is to improve the overall web experience of users and give them the right information that they have done a search for. I mentioned a lot of back-end structural changes that are necessary for SEO, but the aesthetics are just as important for the user experience. So organize your information as logically as possible by breaking things out, into intuitive categories and subcategories. Make sure your navigation bar is prominent and easy to use. Make it easy for users to find what they're looking for, whether that means adding a search bar or helping point users in the right direction with an interactive feature based on the page they landed on. Whatever you do, your first goal should be making your users happy. If your users are happy navigating your site, they're going to stick around. You'll have lower bounce rates, which is a ranking signal to Google, and they'll be more likely to tell their friends about the site. After all, getting more interested buyers to your site is the most important goal for your bottom line and for improving your site navigation. It helps that impact. And that's about it for today's episode. So, if you want to improve your site's organic visibility, come on over to SEO.co and schedule a time to have a free consultation. Learn how we can help you scale your ability to outright and outrank your competition.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.